Hi, my name is Carly Buvella, and I did a history project over a topic that not many people are very aware about or know much about in general. So I did my topic over whistleblower protection, which is basically keeping our whistleblowers protected. So many questions that I got were basically, what is a whistleblower? So, first of all, I would like to point out that a whistleblower is not somebody that blows a whistle. They're kind of like tattletales, I would say, in a way, but like they're good tattletales. So, basically, a whistleblower is a person who informs on a person or organization engaged in unlawful activity. So, basically, that's saying like if a person or an organization was doing something illegal, like against the law, somebody would report them and be like, hey, this person isn't doing something right, like you might need to check up on that. So normally the whistleblower is an employee or somebody who works or plays with people who report to somebody of higher regard or that works above them. So I watched 4 movies/documentaries over whistleblowers. The first movie I watched was Official Secrets.
You had nothing to gain and everything to lose.
This could result in a prison sentence.
Do you want to risk it all?
I have to tell the truth.
So what you just watched was bits and pieces of the Official Secrets trailer. So you can watch this movie on Netflix. It's obviously free because it's on Netflix, so that's why I watched it. So this movie was about a woman named Catherine Gunn. She worked as a spy at the GCHQ in England. So people of higher regard sent her and all of her co-workers an email asking them to switch around the boats and vote for a war in Iraq. Now, if you're a decent person, you'd kind of think that's kind of strange, wouldn't you? Yeah. So did she. So she did something that you probably shouldn't have done. And she told somebody else, who obviously told somebody else, who obviously told somebody else. And then eventually it got around to a news reporter. Great, right? So he saw this as an opportunity. He posted it in the paper. Her office found out. Everybody in her office was questioned about it. And she was like, I didn't do this. Like, you got the wrong person. But eventually, she was kind of like, it kind of kept haunting her. So she was like, I probably should say something about this. Like, this don't feel right. Like, everyone was getting lie detector tested. Like, it wasn't really good. So eventually she did end up telling them, and she was sent to trial. She got fired there, and she actually really liked her job, but she kind of said something that wasn't supposed to be said. So anyways, she was sent to trial, and they charged her. But whenever she got in the courtroom, they ended up dropping the charges because they found out that it was actually an illegal war. So she ended up she tried to end up helping a bunch of innocent people, but the war still kind of happened. So the reason she was charged was because she broke something called the Official Secrets Act. The Official Secrets Act was something that provided the main legal protection in the UK against unauthorized disclosed information. So the director of the movie was Gavin Hood. Gavin Hood isn't against war, but he does think war is necessary at times. Like, he doesn't want war going on for unnecessary reasons, but if it's necessary, he's like, whatever. So he would never pick up a weapon, but he's not a pacifist or peacemaker. And I scanned the internet and I could not find whether he was for or against whistleblower protection. The film really influences adults, I would say, because adults are the ones that are working, and they're the ones that if they saw something bad, like in their workplace, they could like report it without getting charged. First of all, Katherine Gunn, she was charged, but she still like talked about it, and she was like, yeah, like this is happening, this needs to stop. But it also influences everyone because like anybody, like if anybody saw anything bad, anybody should report it. Like an example of this could be at the middle school the other day, there was a kid that was carrying a weapon, and the kid that reported it was a whistleblower. So it was good that he was brave enough to do that, and he might have saved some people's lives. My second movie was called The Crooked E.
We are marketing something that nobody ever thought they needed before. Bankruptcy protection.
He entered a world of wealth and power.
There are no limits at Enron. None.
At Enron, if you play your cards right, you can leave the table with a lot of chips.
Just how far are you willing to go? Them was corrupt almost from the very beginning. Keep the lie going. And the bonuses and the stock options that keep coming. Everybody wins.
I lost it all.
That's right. So.
The Crooked E, the unshredded truth about Enron.
So what you just watched were bits and pieces of the Crooked E, the unshredded truth about Enron trailer. So in the Crooked E, it was about the late company Enron, which you heard about. Everyone thought that Enron was the greatest company like to ever exist. It was located in Houston, Texas, and everyone just thought it was amazing. They thought it was the best. They left like high-paying jobs elsewhere just to come here in Houston, Texas to work for the company Enron. But what they really didn't know was the company was actually drowning in debt and doing some illegal things. So whenever the owners and the CEOs and all of them got caught, they were sent to jail. Like, they were done. And everyone who worked or made money from Enron lost everything. Like, if you bought a car with the money that you got from Enron, that was gone. You bought a house, that was gone. Like, they lost everything that Enron had promised them they'd have. This film was really influential to more younger adults because they're the ones that are going to work in big businesses, and I think that the Enron story could really help them because if they see something going on that's kind of like suspicious, they could be like, okay, that's really not right. Like Brian Kruger, who was a young adult starting to work at a big business, one of the best in the world, he started to get a little suspicious, but he like didn't really say anything about it because he was like, I mean, it's probably nothing bad, like they're so great. It was bad. So the whistleblower was Sharon Watkins, and she was actually an Enron Corp executive. She was one of the higher people that did report something. Most of them just kind of like knew it was happening, and they were like, I don't care, it's making me more money. So, but they're really drowning in debt, you know, whatever. So Watkins said that if the proper whistleblower laws had been in place at the time, she would have been able to report her concerns to the Securities and Exchange Commission without exposing her name. So luckily, she was never charged. People will view Enron in a completely different way than they did back in the day, especially if you don't even know the story. When Enron was still running, everyone absolutely loved the place. They thought it was one of the best. But this movie really helps show what actually happened behind the scenes and how it wasn't all it seemed to be. The next documentary I watched was about the Facebook whistleblower.
Her name is Frances Haugen.
There were conflicts of interest between what was good for the public and what was good for Facebook. In 2021, I realized, okay, I'm gonna have to do this in a systemic way, and I have to get out enough that no one can question that this is real.
Facebook essentially amplifies the worst of human nature.
And the more anger that they get exposed to, the more they interact and more they consume.
So you just watched bits and pieces of the documentary I watched about the Facebook whistleblower. She worked for many different companies around 15 years. Once she found out about what Facebook was like and what they were doing, she secretly copied tens of thousands of pages of Facebook internal research about them lying and misleading the public about making significant progress about hate, violence, and misinformation. According to Frances, Facebook is tearing our society apart and causing ethnic violence. Another study showed that 13.5% of teenage girls said that looking at Instagram makes their thoughts of suicide worse. So, Instagram isn't really helping suicide awareness right now. And then 17% of teenage girls said that looking at Instagram makes eating disorders worse. The method that Facebook uses is that if teenage girls get the eating disorder content more, then they will become more depressed and actually end up using the app even more, which means that Facebook will get more money. According to research, Instagram is worse than any other social media. This documentary influences everyone by showing them that social media may not be the healthiest for you. Maybe this documentary can also influence those who are depressed and have awful thoughts to get rid of these apps and live a happier and healthier lifestyle. Just an idea, you know? This documentary can fuel political discussion of what Facebook is really doing. Since most people will appreciate what Haugen has said, some may not. They will think she betrayed Facebook and keep going against her. It is most influential on parents because it shows them what really may be happening with their kids on social media. They may be wondering why their kids are acting more depressed and having health problems and even acting like they just never want to be there around them. And this documentary helps show them what is probably happening. The last documentary I watched about whistleblowers is over the Astros cheating scandal.
Now, sign stealing in itself isn't against any rules. There's a reason teams use a complicated sign system to begin with. If your signs can be figured out without electronic assistance, you're at a huge disadvantage. But using technology is against the rules, and as detailed in the Rosenthal-Drellich article, a feed from a camera in center field fixed on the opposing catcher's signs was hooked up to a television monitor that was placed on a wall steps from the team's home dugout at Minute Maid Park. Here's the timeline. Early in the 2017 season, at least 2 uniformed Astros got together to start the process. One was a hitter who was struggling at the plate and had benefited from sign stealing with the previous team, according to club sources. Another was a coach who wanted to help. When the banging started isn't 100% clear. I watched the footage from opening day against the Mariners and heard some suspicious thuds. That's the face of the man who may have sunk the Astros. Fiers was an Astro in 2017.
I found the footage. Let's watch it. Here we go. But he takes the changeup. Now, Farquhar looking good. Let's see. Fastball, no bang at all. Takes it. Call for the changeup. Bang, bang. And Farquhar steps off and says, "Can you hear it?" He's like, "Hey, they got the f***ing signs. We got to change this."
So what you just watched were bits and pieces of the documentary I watched about the Astros whistleblower. The whistleblower for the Astros cheating with technology was former Astros pitcher Mike Fiers. He reported that they would use a camera in center field pointing at the catcher's hands that was connected to a TV right by the dugout. So once they figured out the signals, they would bang on trash cans or whistle to let the batter know what pitch was being thrown. Some pitchers were suspicious and changed the signs, but they didn't understand how the Astros would figure this out. About a year after Mike Fiers reported all this, he was receiving death threats from Astros fans, but he did the industry a service. He helped report the rule-breaking act the Astros were participating in, and he didn't deserve the threats. Luckily, the MLB commissioner said he would protect him and his family wherever he was playing. Once everyone found out about what the Astros were doing, many people were not happy with this. Many stopped liking and supporting the Astros, but some really just didn't care. They loved them so much and they thought they should do whatever they could to win, and they weren't thinking about how unfair it was to all the other teams that were playing against them. This film really didn't target a specific group. It really just targeted everyone who has any slight interest in baseball. It helped explain everything that happened and showed the different ways they cheated. This film was made in 2019, which was around the time the whole scandal was happening. Saying this, everyone was wondering what really happened, and the person who made the documentary was probably really interested in the topic. The big question that this whole project was really about was, how does film influence the political views of the audience? So, when showing different perspectives of the way someone else is viewing things, it can really change the way anybody feels about that topic. For instance, when I watched the movie Official Secrets, I could have felt one way about whistleblowers, but then if somebody else watched the movie, they could have felt a completely different way and could have argued with me about the same subject. It really just proves that directors of films can present the film really well and can show different perspectives of an argument.
Hi, I'm Carly.
Who betrayed your office? Like, you might get fired. Do they blow a whistle? Like, no, that's too early. I did a history project over something called, it's not something, it's someone. Except the,
I did a I don't know what to say.
Hi.
Believe that a whistleblower is just a tattletale, but those people, the whistleblower.